The Just Lead Advancing Racial Equity Conference, hosted by New Detroit, brought together national and local speakers who provided compelling insights into racial equity and justice. Kari Frazier, Detroit is Different, provides you conversations with some of the phenomenal guests, talking dismantling racism with collaborative solutions.
Hi, I'm Marshalle Favors. This is Just Lead 2023.
Yes. Detroit is different here at the Just Lead Conference 2023, New Detroit. And the person that brought us to this conference, the person that is definitely creative and connecting to many things. Marshalle Favors, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, Kari. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about racial equity and you taking the lead on this. In planning for this conference, what stood out? What did you want to offer different than last year? And how is that in response to just the pulse of what's happening in Detroit?
Absolutely. And when you say the you, I'm going to include our...
Yeah, when I say you,
yes, we're going to
organization.
All of New Detroit, because my colleagues and our president and CEO, Michael Rafferty, was definitely the person who conceptualized all of this when he first came in. Mm-hmm. And he thought about it for a while. And so last year was the first time that we kicked it off. And in 2022, and here we are now in 2023, and last year was almost like a proof of concept, mm-hmm. Also, and we thought deeply about, of course, overall, talking about DEI and racial equity, but we also wanted to bring in the intersectionalities of everything that comes with that, right? And you have so many things that you can discuss. It's almost like, well, how do you pinpoint just one or two issues to highlight? And so we knew we wanted to touch a broad section of people. So we thought more about our communities first and thought about, what's on the hearts and minds of folks. How do we engage people in this conversation and bring racial equity to the table and to the forefront. And we thought about our business communities, we thought about our grassroots communities. And so how do you have this intersection of dialogue when it impacts everyone across the board, right? And so this year, I felt like, especially with our open plenary, we did it in 3 parts to try to cover that broad spectrum and to really give some high level ideas and perceptions around racial equity. And I started out with our community nonprofit leaders and business leaders giving the why. Why is it important to talk? And you think that that's crazy, right? You think that in this day and age where people should know the why. But when you have so much pushback, when folks are talking about race and equity, you see how much more we need to have these conversations and have it in unison, with one another, not working in silos, working together to try to figure out how to address these issues and bringing together people in a forum in a way that we can have these conversations and dialogue. So the first part of the plenary started out with high-level thought leadership, and then bringing it into the business case for racial equity and DEI, especially when it's been under so much scrutiny in all kinds of ways, in the media and in boardrooms and in all different types of ways. So that pushback is part of what we're doing. That pushback is bringing it to the table, making our presence known, and knowing that we have to talk about these issues. And so the second part of it was talking about the business case, and then we rounded it all off with the interpersonal, kind of like the heart and mind of it, changing hearts and minds, because in order to do this work, it also has to be personal. Right? It's not just about the bottom line. companies are made up of people, communities are made up of people. So you have to have these opportunities where we can have these hard conversations and have cross-cultural, cross-racial conversations with folks.
So that just definitely leads to what personal actions can a person take when it comes to that with those relationships with friends, with family, with the people that they work with, or just, it could be at the gym. Like, what actions can be taken to promote racial equity in society?
Well, one of the things when people come into our spaces and our places, we always say, either sit next to someone who doesn't look like you, meaning you have to be in rooms and places, spaces where folks have different perceptions from you, right? If you always are around the people that have the same ideas and, kind of think the way that you do, look the way that you do, then you'll never have that personal growth. And the one thing personally that you can do is to help educate yourself, right? I mean, of course, like there's books that are out there, but it's a more meaningful kind of experience when you read something or you see something. I'm really very much into media, so watching, like movies and images, things like that, and then having that dialogue with someone else that has a different, perspective than you do. You have to step out of your own comfort zone, and that takes some stretching, and it takes, looking at what you've learned and sometimes figuring out what you need to learn to unlearn, and also being comfortable being uncomfortable talking about race.
And the last thing, you led a workshop on the storytelling. What are some impactful moments that you've witnessed in not just that workshop? It could have been any other workshops or trainings or open dialogues, lectures, where you've seen some impactful breakthroughs when it comes to racial equity.
It's really about your growth and what you learn about. And a lot of times in the workshops that we do, we give them information that you may have never heard before, especially when it comes to history. A lot of our history is either, I'm not going to say it's unknown, but if you give someone a piece of history that was less known and that they didn't know before, then, like, I'll give you an example. I ask people often, how many people have heard of Seneca Village, right? And a lot of people will raise their hand because some people know about it, some people don't know about it. Then I say, well, how many people have heard of Central Park? And every hand in the room goes up. But then when they find out the history about Seneca Village and how there was a thriving, African American community that was pushed out, and then they learn about historical places that they know about every single day, and learn a piece of history that they never knew about. Now, how does that change your perception about people? How does that change your perspective about how you thought about, race and racial perspectives? So that's just one example. But when it comes to storytelling, it's connecting people to stories and experiences that they haven't had before, so they can step out of their comfort zone, so they can grow and learn.